manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy. Thank you, happy.
Welcome back to another episode of A Captain's Log.
For sure, if you're not a fan, give Star Trek a shot. It's really a thought-provoking way of humanity and infinite diversity coming together through struggles. And like Picard masterfully said, "Feel my hand, we're the same, flesh and blood."
I love the way you do it, Lili. As always, you're right. I love that line in the Next Generation episode, Who Watches the Watchers? One of the single most powerful scenes of two cultures coming together that we really need today here in the 21st century.
We do.
Such a profound Picard statement, as we saw so many times throughout the series, but really I was holding back the tears in that episode.
I cry all the time at Picard. And you know what, Brian? I'm making the executive decision here. We're going to show a clip of that scene now. Our first clip ever on A Captain's Log. That's not a trailer.
You should do it. Good job. Yes.
Nuria, don't be afraid. No one is going to harm you.
Who?
I am Jean-Luc Picard. Please, get up. Get up. You must not kneel to me.
You do not wish it?
I do not deserve it. Look at me. Look at me. Feel the warmth of my hand, the rhythm of my pulse. I'm not a supreme being. I'm flesh and blood, like you.
Not like me.
Like you. Different in appearance, yes. But we are both living beings. We are born, we grow, we live, and we die. In all the ways that matter, we are alike.
But you are the Picard.
Well, that was a strong statement for today's world. Star Trek clearly knows how to bring cultures together. I want to shift gears to the other animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yes, we love Lower Decks and previewed the characters just a few weeks back.
On Friday, July 23rd, Comic-Con held back-to-back panels on the current Star Trek animated shows. Wait, I'm animated. Could I be on these shows? We're talking about Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Lower Decks.
That's great. What other news do you have, Rog?
Star Trek Lower Decks, of course, also at Comic-Con with a panel. As many viewers know, the show revolves around 4 Starfleet Lower Deck young officers: Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford, working on one of Starfleet's least important ships, the Cerritos.
Yes, more news of young Starfleet officers in Season 2 of Lower Decks reveals that we will see Lieutenant Boimler at the helm under Captain Riker in multiple episodes on the Titan. We knew Riker and Boimler would be in the Season 2 premiere episode, but the more episodes with the lovable Wil Riker and the Boims together, the better.
Yes! Boims is a short name for Lieutenant Bradford Boimler.
Boimler! You know, we got it, Rog. You have some great Star Trek news for us today. And Lili just revealed my favorite news story of the day. I love Riker and Boimler together on the Titan. That's amazing. I hope to hear more Klingon news soon.
But speaking of news, did you hear about what Michael Dorn is trying to do? I can't really speak loud because I'm on the bridge, but Dorn is trying to pitch the idea of a Star Trek spin-off called Captain Worf, where we'd be looking at a Starfleet from the Klingon Empire perspective. Captain Worf had left Starfleet and joined the Klingon Defense Force, concerned that if they don't change with the time, then their species and the other species the Klingon control will go extinct.
Let's talk to Lili about the Klingons that we all love in Star Trek and its long-lived Klingon Empire legacy.
Whether it be a Klingon civil war or a war between houses, we've already seen a second part of redemption. You know the phrase, Brian. Third time's the charm? Should we see a third chance for these Klingon warriors who were already mortally wounded in battle in the Mirror Universe?
Interesting proposition. Wow. A really good idea. You know, you should submit that to the producers of an upcoming Star Trek series, Lili. I would love to see Robert O'Reilly as Gowron, Patrick Massey as Duras, and his sisters Lursa and B'Etor again.
Oh, hold on. The late great Canadian actress Barbara March died August 11, 2019. So she would have to be recast if we see a Mirror Universe Duras sister Lursa. Why not add Tony Todd, Worf's brother, who played Kern, whose character died in DS9 while you're at it? Is this a human attempt at nostalgia to rekindle good memories? All these Klingons are dead!
Yes, Raj. Humans connect with positive emotions from those moments that were influential or memorable to us. Plus, Star Trek has tremendous versatility, spanning across the mirror universe or parallel universes to revisit a character that moved us emotionally as viewers to want to see them again in another reality or situation.
Lili, you explained it so perfectly. For those viewers who don't know about this mirror universe element, and if they could just extrapolate your fond memories of all these Klingon characters to fully understand why you and I want to see a return to the mirror universe.
Agreed, Brian. I know this upcoming strongest or weakest Klingons, our top 5 list, will evoke a captivating Klingon love or hate for our memorable warrior characters.
No doubt about it, Lili. One reason we're doing another top 5 best and weakest is your debut episode on your very first episode here on the Captain's Log was worthy of an award for your excellent rendition of character reviews just a few weeks ago, right?
Oh, thank you. I love doing that episode and I can't wait to share our list of legends this week.
Recently in Star Trek Discovery, the Mirror Universe expounded on classic Star Trek's ways. Burnham, Lorca, and Georgiou rise to power is through violence. You have to kill to survive and inspire fear to gain respect. Opposite from their Prime Universe counterpart characters played by the same actors.
Hija! That's correct, Raj. One of Star Trek Discovery's strengths, although I know many fans, including me, question a little bit of the differences within it, is the mirror universe in the story arc. I recommend viewers visit the website digitalspy.com and see the article titled Star Trek Discovery, A Beginner's Guide to the Mirror Universe. They'll now know the basics about the mirror universe in which our heroes find themselves trapped. It's a parallel universe in which good guys are evil, and vice versa. I'm so excited to get to talking about our honorably killed Klingons, our best and weakest top 5.
What? I thought our topic was strongest or weakest Klingons, our top 5. Not honorably killed Klingons. The graphic on the screen shows you in error.
Raj, no more pointing out our erred ways like some maniacal maniac-like machine who's always perfect. It's called adding a human emotional touch to her topic. That's why she said it that way, Raj.
Anyways, our number 5 top strongest Klingon is Kor, the first ever Klingon. The alien antagonist who helped introduce the whole warrior race to Star Trek lore in 1967 is so believable even without the cranial forehead his first go-round. John Colicos reprises his role in Deep Space Nine multiple times and is the sole survivor of his trio of Klingon brothers in a hand-to-hand fight for the death. This fight was a bloody knuckle knockout, even at Kor's old age in the Deep Space Nine episode Blood Oath, gloriously battling alongside Koloth and Kang.
Love that episode.
Kor, played by Canadian actor John Colicos, passed away in March of 2000. Who's the number 4 Klingon on your list, Lili?
Well, it's none other than Gowron, the Chancellor of the Klingon High Council in the late 24th century. He ruled during Klingon Civil War, the Klingon Cardassian War, and the Dominion War. Bryan, I know he's one of your favorites. Yes, his grating stare and buttleth battling was one of legends.
He is indeed a favorite. Gowron was played by Robert O'Reilly. Now, Gowron was considered a political outsider who often challenged the High Council. When it became apparent that a Patak poisoned Kempek, who was also shown dying in the Next Generation episode, Gowron quickly rose to become one of the two main challengers for the office of Chancellor. The other challenger was Counselor Duras, who was killed by Worf. Oh, Worf also killed Gowron as well. But Gowron was fierce. Just the names Gowron and even Duras seethe Klingon language greatness, just like how Lili speaks Klingon with robustness.
Number 3 of our strongest Klingons is K'Ehleyr, the daughter of a human mother and a Klingon father. This multiracial powerhouse, an endearing woman really, shows us how she confidently carries herself in each scene. A personality of unifying together two different cultures within herself, K'Ehleyr proves Star Trek has an insightful way of showing how two worlds come together within oneself. Predating B'Elanna Torres as a half-Klingon, half-human, K'Ehleyr was an ambassador and special emissary of the Federation. K'Ehleyr describes herself as being trapped between two cultures with biracial parents, and she was proud of it. I completely relate to that. She was a strong woman and confident in her abilities as a professional, a mother, and a loving woman to Worf as his desired mate. She accompanied Klingon Chancellor Kempek, who had chosen Picard as arbiter of succession. When she came aboard, Lieutenant Worf learned of his son Alexander with K'Ehleyr as the mother. Extremely honorable. A fierce Federation ambassador, K'Ehleyr. She had a cleverly candid way of speaking her mind.
This ambassador, K'Ehleyr, sounds as if she could speak her mind with no reservations. Why don't you speak your mind with absolute candor about your personal life to Lili or I, Ambassador?
Rog, that's inappropriate as beyond behind-the-scenes personal information. In good time.
Okay. I still don't understand the complexity of humans and holding back their personal information. Wait, what did you say? Ambassador, she's dead too. How many Klingons in this top 5 plus weakest 5 are actually still alive?
Bryan, I have this answer. Raj, K'Ehleyr died in the Next Generation episode Reunion when dumbass Duras attacked the half-human, half-Klingon woman in her quarters and killed her. Worf holds her as she tries to cling on to her life. As for Ambassador Bryan's feelings, I too share the same high regard for sharing what we feel about Star Trek ourselves and to be objective and journalistic as possible as a first approach. We're a team, and like Star Trek, it's our human spirit and willingness to spread the wealth and knowledge of Star Trek here to our fans that fuels our success. Keep going to our holodeck to explore emotions further with your cute, crying Vulcan hologram, Raj. Number 2 is Dahar Master Kang. Kang commanded many ships in his career. He actually encountered Captain Sulu during an intense ship-to-ship face-off. Sulu's Excelsior ship narrowly escaped Kang's battlecruiser. After a strong performance in the Season 3 episode Day of the Dove from classic Star Trek, he would then return to reprise his role as Kang in the Deep Space Nine episode Blood Oath and the Voyager episode Flashback, as well as being an honored warrior. Bryan, what's your take on Kang as our number 2 strongest Klingon?
Oh, Kang is legendary. The legendary Klingon commander exploits really ensured him a place in the Hall of Heroes. Now, as told in Grotok's poem, The Fall of Kang, who feasted on the heart after his defeat of an old enemy named Tanag. His appearance on Deep Space Nine shows he is of the old Klingon heart of glory. He is a legend. Lili, I think Raj wanted me to ask you on his behalf, I don't know why Raj just didn't ask you himself, if you can express your enthusiasm like you did for Kang as the Dahar Master in that victory speech. Remember the first time?
Okay, here we go. Number 1 is Worf, of course.
Oh, yes.
We just heard he killed Gowron and Duras, but is there a more complete Klingon with any more heart, guile, guts, and glory than that of Worf, son of Mogh? Fans almost all universally agree that Worf and K'Ehleyr were great together. Two opposites both made up for each other's missing strengths. And as the only Klingon in Starfleet, Worf has already achieved an illustrious and honorable career. Worf was the audience's connection to Klingon culture. He's actually appeared in the most episodes ever for any Star Trek character, and for good reason. Not to mention, if you count his grandfather, also named Worf, in Star Trek VI, Dorn has appeared 5 times in feature films, as well as every episode minus a couple in Next Gen, and 4 seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Yes, Worf's integrating human-like Starfleet ways into his Klingon code proves a bumpy ride as we see him on the Enterprise wearing red at one of the aft stations behind Tasha Yar, remember in season 1. So he quickly moves up the ranks as a Klingon who has a warrior's heart and human compassion. Really mixing of both cultures just perfectly there. You know, there's moments like us where Worf fails his compassion for others when he lets a Romulan die rather than donate his blood to save the Romulan's life in that episode, 3rd season. The association of the Klingon Batleth weapon and being a father of duty and honor to Alexander, his young son, Worf has some of the most amazingly Trek-tastic quotes. "It is a good day to die. You must let her see the fire in your eyes. A warrior does not let a friend face danger alone."
That's a great Worf voice.
Thanks. Try. Number 5, weakest Klingon is a total opposite of a strong Klingon woman like K'Ehleyr was.
Yes, Brian. It's Mara, Kang's wife. You would think being married to the Dahar Master Kang would make her a powerful woman with feminine and Klingon powerful leadership abilities. However, Mara, who served as both science officer and first officer, comes to the Enterprise and gets almost raped by Chekhov when Chekhov was being influenced by an alien entity. As a Klingon, Mara would have or should have easily been able to defend herself. And she shows strong qualities with a powerful mind and would make a proud human woman, but her warrior-like Klingonness was not on display. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt, though, as she was a cool Klingon woman and the most prominent as the first one seen in Trek. Mara was also descended from Klingons affected with the Klingon augment virus created in 2154, so this may have weakened her warrior-like abilities.
I forgot about that, absolutely. Mara was a really good one.
Lili, I have a question. Lili, I have a question. How do you say Klingon in Klingon? I bet it's like this.
Number 4 weakest Klingon is Koloth. Even actor William Campbell approved of how the Klingons are portrayed in The Trouble with Tribbles, with the character of Korech being what Campbell perceived as the nasty one, as opposed to his own character of Koloth. Koloth's status with the Klingon Empire was revered, as he also achieved the status of Klingon Dahar Master, like Kang. His glory further succeeded him after his death in 2370, battling the albino who killed his son, like Kang's, in Deep Space Nine. However, that's the extent of his glory. He was a weak Klingon seen in the original series episode The Trouble with Tribbles and 1970s animated series episode More Tribbles, More Troubles. And just like the first encounter with Kirk, James T. masterfully puts Koloth in his place by mockingly greeting him with, "Ah, my dear Captain Koloth," all the while knowing that Koloth is a coward and wouldn't even try to go to a hand-to-hand battle with Kirk like a true Klingon warrior.
Number 3 on our weakest villains is actually 2 sisters, Lursa and B'Etor. Now, the actresses and characters are very memorable. I loved watching them both tag team with their targets, usually with trickery and seduction. But, you know, it didn't work on Picard. What makes these sisters think it's going to work on Worf? The two helped cover up a lie for their ill-fated brother Duras. Lastly, they steal Geordi LaForge for his visor to find the shield harmonic codes to the Enterprise and actually do crash Picard's flagship Enterprise.
Poor Geordi. First the Pakleds steal him, and then the Klingons in the first Star Trek Next Gen film.
The Duras sisters were also responsible for selling Bilitrium to Bajoran Konmad terrorists in 2369.
Our second weakest Klingon is Arn Darvin, a male Klingon intelligence officer of the 23rd century who assumed a human identity. This set of Trek's best episodes are two of your favorites. Feel free to elaborate on this little man.
Yes, this Klingon whom we only saw in human form was named Arn Darvin, and he later suffered discommodation and assumed the identity of Barry Waddle, a human merchant that lived into the 24th century. But if we go back to Kirk's 23rd century in the Federation, they were furious to know that Arn Darvin poisoned the Tribbles eating quadritriticale grain that was stored in containers conveniently opened from the top container doors onto Kirk's head, spilling all the Tribbles. Darvin's true identity as a Klingon was exposed by none other than Captain James T. Kirk, using a Tribble itself, which squawked at Darvin when Kirk held one up to his face. McCoy's scan of Darvin says, "Jim, this man's a Klingon."
And our first weakest Klingon is the Gorn. It has to be, with that rubber-like green alien as a gag, not fighting like a Klingon. The Gorn and Kirk are in the bitter yet sweetest fight scene ever. Captain Kirk and the Gorn circle each other and wrestle in slow motion. No, actually the weakest Klingon is Duras Pitchvikajbe. Brian, will you tell the viewers about Duras, please? He's our #1 weakest warrior from Qo'nos.
Yes, Duras was a Klingon politician whose father was a rival of Worf's before the Kittimer Massacre, in which both men were killed due to Duras's father betraying his people to the Romulans.
A lady killer, literally. Kinda glad, fictionally of course, that the damn Duras is dead.
We both agree he's one we love to hate, Lili. Last week we were at Rubicon 3. This week our planet is of course Qo'nos, as you say it, Lili, the home world of the Klingons for our planet of the week.
I was just speaking Klingon. I'm a big fan of Star Trek and I really wanted to learn the language. But if you really want to learn something, you'll put your mind and body through it.
Absolutely, like you learned the Klingon language.
Mm-hmm.
Captain's log. Stardate 65894.5. The Federation Council asked our ship the Orus to return to the planet Qo'nos. It's been a long time since the Klingons had their civil war, and with the Romulans supplying one side over the other, a watchful eye of the Klingon High Command seat is no longer an internal affair, but one of strategic proportions to the Federation, among other neighboring worlds. In Captain Picard's log, he wrote that he believed the Duras family was getting supplies by the Romulans. However, he had to prove it before getting the Federation involved. Captain Picard knew the importance of keeping the alliance with the Klingons and keeping the Romulans away. We must continue with peace.
Was a civil war necessary? I want to say no, but it was also necessary to lead to certain events.
That's very true. I mean, centuries ago on Earth, there were a lot of humans killing other humans, but that was not considered a civil war. It was one country versus another, fighting for the country you were born in, not for the planet that you live on. If we're going by the logic of the Klingons in this planet, then we'll have to go by the same logic of Terrans on Earth.
Absolutely. Okay, Captains, if you were giving the log entry and orders, what would your scenarios be and what would your options be? I put the question to you. Was a Klingon civil war necessary when Captain Picard and Lieutenant Worf were there? Option 1. Yes, the Klingons needed to know who was going to be the rightful leader of their empire. One family, the Duras family, wanted to keep the power even though their brother had died. And Gowron, who had gone through all the necessary Klingon procedures to be the new leader? Or is it option 2? No, a Klingon civil war was not needed. The Duras sisters were just hungry for power that they really never had. Gowron is the rightful leader because he has been fighting for the Klingon Empire for decades. Klingon option 3, you're in the neutral zone. You're kind of undecided. You don't want them to go to war, but whatever happens, happens. Klingons have their own separate rules, and we must let them resolve it themselves, regardless of the outcome.
And thank you all for joining us.